Cyclists often have to tweak their bikes or buy entirely new ones when riding in different regions or during different seasons. These can pose challenges for the cyclists, especially when they're trying to break records. Stay tuned as we discuss how Ronan McLaughlin built the best bike for breaking records, plus a look at some of the best cycles that changed the world of cycling. Let's crack on. First up, Ronan McLaughlin's motivation behind building the best bike for breaking records. For 5 years, Ronan planned to attempt a string of place-to-place records, but never actually got his tires off the starting line. Something as drastic as a fractured leg in December 2021 was all it took to get him moving. His leg healed, and he gave these place-to-place records a go. As anyone who knows him well would expect, the biggest challenge in his past tries was finding a time trial bike that was properly optimized for him. It wasn't just about healing from injuries or setting new records in 2022, it was also about designing the best possible bike for these endeavors. In the latest part of his Creating the Best Bike for series, he put together what he believed was the best bike and equipment for a given competition. In short, he attempted to break 3 records at once, succeeded in breaking one, fell short in his attempt to break another, and never even got off the starting block in the third. Compared to other optimal designs, this one has a few minor tweaks. The builds that came before this were made for a specific purpose or user need. A time trial bike designed to break records over long distances needs to be able to handle a wide variety of terrains and distances. In fact, the only thing quicker than TT technology is the rate at which it is replaced by the next generation of time-bending aero upgrades. He tells us that this is just one of many possible ways to set up a time trial bike, not that this is the best way to do it. Moving on to what this special bike can do. McLaughlin wanted a time trial frame that was aerodynamic and had a lot of easy-to-use adjustments because cyclists who try to break records ride a wide range of distances and courses. The Factor Hanzo was his choice. The Hanzo is the definition of modernity. It has a deep and narrow head tube, truncated tubes, an external fork steerer, a mono riser, wide-set fork legs, dropped seat stays, and disc brakes. If there was one thing Ronan said he could change about the Hanzo, it would be to make the down tube more closely aligned with the front wheel. Since Greg LeMond won the 1989 Tour de France by a hair's breadth over Laurent Fignon, time trial extensions have come a long way. Modern skis not only give the athlete a more aerodynamic stance, but they also almost blend with the arm to make an athlete's profile more aerodynamic and spread the force evenly on the forearms. The elbow rests have been transformed into supports for the rider to achieve a rocket position. All of that, and they even seem quick just standing still. That's what you get with the Wattshop Anemois. The bike had to be adaptable enough to be used in races of different lengths. Hanzo's fork and the Factor base plate mount provide for a mono riser system. With these risers from Wattshop, it's easy to change the micro angle of the aero extension from 5 to 25 degrees. Talking about the best bikes for breaking records, let's take a look at some of the best road bikes that changed the world of cycling. Starting with the Legnano team bike 1948. Campagnolo developed the Cambio Corsa derailleur in 1940. In the past, to shift gears, cyclists had to take off their back wheel and flip it over. But thanks to Campagnolo, they were given 2 options. Gino Bartali, an Italian cycling legend, was one of the first racers to adopt it, and it gave him a slight edge in the Alps. 2 levers, one on either side of the bike's right seat stay, are used to shift gears. The top lever unlocks the back wheel, while the lower one manipulates a crude guide that shifts the chain onto a different set of gears. To change gears, you must backpedal because the chain shifter is located at the top of the chain above the chainstay. The rider's weight causes the wheel to move back and retensions the chain once the gear has been changed. The Cambio Corsa was an engineering marvel in its day, even if it was simple. Followed by the TI Rally Pro Team Bike 1980. In 1972, Rally formed a professional road team with the goal of claiming victory at the Tour de France. Under Peter Post's professional direction, the TI Rally cycling team did very well and became unbeatable in the sport. They peaked in 1980 with Joop Zoetemelk's delivery of the yellow jersey to the legendary Nottingham Company. Rally remains the only British bike manufacturer to ever take home the Tour de France trophy. The best racing bikes in the world were made by Rally's Special Bike Development Unit, which was led by cycling legend Gerald O'Donovan. Post insisted on the finest components, and that's why the Reynolds 531 tubing bikes came equipped with Campagnolo record. The frames were painted and assembled in Ilkeston, while the wheels were hand-built locally. Rally's outstanding wins include 1 Tour de France, 62 Tour Stage victories, 26 Classics victories, and 6 world titles. Next is the Look KG86 Tour de France, 1986. Add At this point in time, carbon fiber has become the most popular material for bicycle frames. Even though carbon had a good strength-to-weight ratio for bike frames, it was hard for a small number of manufacturers in the early 1970s to figure out how to use it. The Look was the first manufacturer to market a carbon tube bicycle frame suitable for competitive cycling. The French company TVT made the tubes by weaving layers of carbon fiber into the Kevlar exterior. The tubes were attached to aluminum lugs in a way that was reminiscent of the first aluminum tube bicycles. When Greg LeMond rode a Look KG86 to victory in the Tour de France, it gave the company a huge boost. TVT also manufactured its own brand of frames. Both Peugeot and Vitus produced frames that were nearly identical. Moving on to the Vitus 979 1987. Even though Jacques Anquetil tested out an aluminum frame in the 1960s, it wasn't until the early 1970s that the material caught up with the professional peloton. While aluminum's small weight and high strength make it a great choice for modern bike frames, the material's pliability limited its use in the early days of the bicycle. Even though the Vitus had some problems at first, it kept using aluminum, and by the mid-1980s it was making frames with 979 Dural tubes. Duralumin was an aluminum alloy that proved both lightweight and considerably more rigid than the previous frames. Along with the joined tubes being butted into lugs, design changes like a one-piece head tube and lug unit made the frame stiffer. The frames were also anodized as opposed to painting for a glossy, scratch-resistant appearance. Sean Kelly had great success riding a Vitus 979, winning many races. Then there's the Once Giant TCR 1999. The Once team rode the Giant TCR, the first mass-produced frame with a sloping top tube and compact shape in the late 1990s. British pioneer Mike Burrows decreased the size of the previous framework in his invention. While being more durable, lightweight, and material efficient, it also had the added benefit of being able to be manufactured in a wider range of sizes. David Lloyd, another British frame builder, debuted his Concept 90, a frame with a sloping top tube, in 1990. In contrast to the TCR, which was made of aluminum, this was made of steel. Some of the best pros, including Laurent Jalabert, rode the TCR and opted for the frame's smaller 650C wheels rather than the more common 700C ones. Some professional cyclists believed that smaller wheel sizes would provide them with a performance advantage, so they began to use them at the stages that ended with the climb. Even with all the potential benefits, the concept failed to gain traction. Finishing off with the Trek OCLV 1999 to 2005, the debt that Trek owes to Lance Armstrong, even now in terms of the company's public profile. When Armstrong won his first Tour de France in 1999, this relatively new American company became known all over the world. They've always manufactured good, well-thought-out bikes, the work of enthusiasts who understand how bikes function. When Armstrong returned to the U.S. Postal Team for the 1998 racing season, Trek was using the team to promote its OCLV carbon bikes. The term Optimum Compaction Low Void, or OCLV, refers to the lamination technique used for the carbon fiber layers in the frames. Processed in-house in Waterloo, Wisconsin, it adhered to the same carbon fiber specifications used in the aerospace sector. After Armstrong rode a Trek OCLV 5200 to victory in the 1999 Tour de France, the model skyrocketed in popularity in the United States. Shimano, which debuted in 1973 with the Belgian Flandria team, also won the Tour for the first time that year. That's a wrap for this video. What are your thoughts on Ronan McLaughlin's best bike build for breaking records? Let us know in the comments. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.